Good morning and welcome to Willow's Green Permaculture. My name is Stephen Dixon and today I'd like to talk to you about loofah. Now loofah is not just something that you can use in the shower. It's also something you can use to get rid of all those pesky steel wool or microplastic or just plain cheap sponges that you have to keep rebuying all the time and that pollute the environment and clog your septic systems. You can replace them with these that you can grow yourself, and they last a surprisingly long time. So if this is something you're interested in, then let's get started. There's all sorts of things you can use to scrub your vegetables, like your potatoes, your carrots, your beets, and so on. Scrub the dirt off of them because it's better to store them, with a little bit of dirt on them. But whether you do that or not, or if you buy them in the grocery store or whatever, it's always good to scrub your potatoes and carrots and so on before using them. And loofah is a great thing to use to scrub them. Loofah is also really good to scrub your cast iron pans or any of your dishes that have some really sort of baked on food. Loofah is good for scrubbing it, instead of using those sponges that have all those microplastics in them and so on. So you can grow your own scrubbers for your cast iron, for your pots and pans, even for your sinks, and maybe even for your tubs. You'd need a pretty big one for that. These little ones are pretty good because they ripen in a short season. They're good for cold short seasons like we have here in Ontario, Canada. I spoke at length about these mini short season loofahs that I was able to dry on the vine before the frost in a video about 2 months ago, which you can check out. I'll leave a link right here. So like these ones, most of our loofahs this size ripened on the vine before mid-September. A couple of them didn't though, because they started later, and these of which are two here. This was a bigger kind that I got from Seed Savers Exchange, so clearly probably not grown in a cold climate. And they've been drying, just hanging to dry. I leave some vine so that I can hang it indoors, hang it in a sunny window or on my shelves where I grow my plants and stuff like that. So let's see how these do. Actually, let's try and shake out the... See if we have seeds in here. Usually that end pops off. Okay, there's one. There's one seed. Nice, and that looks like a nice viable seed. There's another. Just didn't get too many. Oh, a lot of seeds. Oh, look at all those seeds coming out. Nice. Oh, I didn't hear any of these. Look at all these seeds. Okay, let's have a look. This is what I really wanted. I want to grow seeds of a plant that I grew here, because it will be adapted. Look at that. Look at all those seeds. Nice. Still more. Okay, let's open up this loofah. Nice and dry. A little bit of mold in there. I can wash that off easily enough. Here we go. There it is. I just need to wash this nice and clean. Clean off all this mold. But that's, I think, one of the longest sponges I've gotten. And wow, the skin came off whole. Okay. Now I'm going to keep these seeds. Now these little guys here. Yep, seeds in there too. Keep these too, so I can grow these little mini ones. I got at least a dozen of these for the kitchen. This skin was thinner. This one was very, very green when I harvested it. So, I think I'm gonna need a loofah to loofah off the skin here. Oh, I'm getting it, I'm getting it. There we go. All done. There. Perfect for scrubbing pans in the kitchen. It's small, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be any bigger than that. Maybe not a good size for using in the shower, but it'll work in the kitchen. Here's a real small one. No seeds in that one. The fruit in the bottom right corner here are Nannyberries. Viburnum lentago. They're delicious, a native species from our area. They taste like prunes. So I'll just wash it to get the rest of the skin off. There we go. So we got probably about 15 loofah sponges now, 15 or 20, I'm not exactly sure. So here they are, all cleaned up. You know, some people will bleach them and do all sorts of other stuff to take these stains off that were left maybe by the mold or whatever. But I just like to keep them natural. You know, once you've washed them, all I did was rinse them. Rinse them with cold water. I could have rinsed them with hot water. Might have been faster. There's maybe still some seeds inside, but as it continues to sort of dry and as I use it, those seeds will fall out. Some people like to cut it open, flatten it. I like to use them whole. I might cut it in half like this though and use the two halves separately. But yeah, I just like to keep this coloring on it because it's just going to become really, really, really dry. And then of course, when you use it, it gets wet. And I find that when I use these and get them all wet and so on, it's funny, they crush and they get smaller, but then they just sponge out again after you're done. They really seem to, I don't know, using them with water makes them last longer. And here are the two little ones. And this one here that I had harvested really, really green, it's got a really tight weave in it. See that? It's this one's gonna last a long time. I was really surprised because it was so green when I harvested it, and I'll show you actually because I've got a bit of B-roll of when I harvested these ones. You know, after let's say some frost and so on, and I didn't want to take any more risks, so I harvested them very, very green. We got 2 nights of frost ahead of us, so I've covered up the loofah and just a few of the peppers. Peppers often are able to tolerate a light frost, but I've covered up a few of them over here, and I've covered up all our loofahs over there. I was happy about this loofah and I wanted to share opening it up. So there you go. Here's a loofah, a little one that I've been using in the kitchen for at least a month, and I'm gonna wash this little mini cast iron pan with it that we cooked some eggs in this morning. Because I think we have at least a dozen of these. I was hoping it would last at least a month. And it has already been at least a month of using this every day with the dishes. So I'm going to show you how it works with the cast iron pan here. It's already coming clean. Now, a good cast iron pan with a good good seasoning, you know, like we use butter when we cook with it. Butter we make homemade, you know, so things don't really stick, but sometimes they're really baked on. Now look at how small this thing gets, but it sponges out again. And keep everything visible here. As you can see, those eggs are coming off. Eggs are something that often bakes on. They're not like vegetables. Vegetables are often easy to clean off a cast iron pan. You know, fried onions or whatever. But eggs can be tough sometimes. Look at that. Look at that. And for those of you wondering about me keeping the water running while I was doing that, I don't worry too much because we have a septic system, so the water just all goes right back into the ground. There you go, and you see, it's already starting to sponge up again. Look at that. Beautiful. Look at that pan. Beautiful. You can tell which ones were the green ones. Now, while you're watching me scrubbing these carrots, you might be curious about the green tips on them. This multicolored variety, one of the several varieties that I grew this year, which you'll be able to see in an upcoming video on the results of our Instant Gardens experiment, well, this variety, they get these either red tips or green tips for any sections that were especially exposed to the sun. The orange ones get the red tips and the yellow ones get the green tips. Now, these carrots in particular were planted directly into a straw bale, and we had a real drought this year, and the compost that I sprinkled on top of the straw bale just wasn't enough to cover the tops of the carrots, and so the tops became very, very exposed to the sun and turned green like this, or red. However, the entire carrot plant is edible, and these green tops are what you might call a cross between the root and the stem, and so they're fine to eat. I prefer to scrub my carrots over peeling them, so I get all the goodness of the carrots possible. I'm getting these carrots ready for a stew. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something from it. And if you liked it, then please give it the thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a question or a comment. I answer them all. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time. A toad, some fish, and some damselflies from this past July.